How do you go from a spare room in your mum's house to one of Ireland's fastest growing streetwear brands? This Belfast-based startup is about so much more than just fashionable streetwear though. Through their wear one, share one model, customers have a direct and significant involvement in social impact. By purchasing an outside-in product, they are also playing an active role in helping those who are affected by homelessness across the world. This is the story of David Johnston and OutsideIn.
My name's David Johnston. I'm the founder of OutsideIn. I'm just about to turn 30 in March. And yeah, I am from Cullybackey, went to university in Scotland, and then I started OutsideIn in 2016, so we're officially 5 years old. It mainly started off as a wear one, share one. So we got to know a lot of people experiencing homelessness and realized what they needed more than anything was people's time and quality products, that they felt that they weren't always human, that society had isolated them. And I really wanted to bring them back into society, where the name OutsideIn came from, bringing those on the outside of society in. So the brand really started with purpose first, and then it was, what can we create here that's going to benefit people experiencing homelessness, but also something that customers want to buy as well. So clothing was one of these things that I feel like as we wear an item of clothing, we find our identity in that item. So OutsideIn has now become a full clothing range where you as a customer get to wear high quality products that also give back to you, whether it's the phrases or what they stand for, but at the same time you get to know that every time you purchase, an additional product is given to someone experiencing homelessness. I think the biggest thing that I was trying to find was, is there anything out there that is a business that gives back? There's a lot of charities, there's a lot of social enterprises, and although we can still technically fall under that line, I wanted to create a business with purpose, something that was prioritizing profit to do good. So the biggest inspiration I could find at the time was Tom's. So they did a wear one, a one-for-one model with their clothing, so that every time someone wore their shoes, they gave a pair of shoes to someone in need. And I loved that tangible element to giving that wasn't saying we'll give 5 or 10% and you really never saw where that money went. I liked the idea of like it's something that you put on, you felt that comfort and someone else was going to feel that too. So I really looked into their model and their concept. Blake Makowski was their founder, and I just loved that kind of creative approach to giving back, and that was the catalyst that then made me challenge it, because I thought it was good, but I was like, we can do it better. And that's where I looked at the wear one, share one, and taking it kind of that concept of one for one, I believe, to a new level. In September 2016 was the first time that I was like, I'm going to do it, which I had an idea. It was very vague, and I gave myself 6 months to start the company. So I was like, right, I don't know how to start a company. I don't know, do I need a logo? Do I need a name? So you definitely start at that really broad thing of, but I read Simon Sinek's book that talks about the why. So it's like, if I can get my why written down of why I'm starting this company, that's my motivator. So that was the main thing. And my why was, there's people who are isolated, in need and neglected, and I want to help them through clothing. So it didn't matter whether I was going to have 2 or 3 bad months or I was going to have to eat beans and toast every day. I knew why I was doing this. So that was the motivator. And then through that process, I guess the first step was sharing with friends ideas to kind of collect information, and also went out with a lot of charities to see how they donated clothes, what they were being given, and did some research, looked into the whole sector of business, and there wasn't many businesses that were giving back. So it very much was, not out here alone, but there's not many people to get advice from. So that was difficult at the start, but I guess it was just a lot of research, showing friends, hey, what do you think of this logo? My mum actually lent me some money. It was £2,000 at the time, so that's what we started with. So I was very frugal with that money and had to be careful with buying stock, with I just used a spare room that she gave me as well. So it really wasn't like we were given all this stuff at the start and I had so much to play with. It was trying to do everything myself, see what I could outsource, and that was like, I want this to look quality, therefore I can't do that. I'm going to need help with that. So I would say those 6 months very much were the research stages, where trying to find out what products I were going to sell and what products were in need for those experiencing homelessness, and sort of trying to create a small enough range that I didn't get too carried away and tried to do everything. Focus on one or two things that I think I could do well, which were hats, and came up with the name and the concept, and that was it. I wasn't going to do anything more, and I loved photography, so I knew I could get good photos of the products as well. So I think the main thing was trying to hone in on the why and hone in on what is your target audience going to be and what are you going to sell them. Sometimes you can get overcomplicated with it all, and I just had to refine it down a little bit. From that September, I would say for a year and a bit, we just used that spare room, and it was just myself, some friends who would help me go to the post office and post all the orders for the day. It was also a woman behind me who was my Sunday school teacher called Jean. She actually sewed all the labels onto the hats. So it was a lot of people just helping me out from a small village who were kind of believing in the concept. I used to pretend with customer service I give a different name, so that made it sound a little bit bigger. So I think you have to get quite creative. Even on the socials, I had a guy called Stu. I would have called my name Stu. I think I tried to create the perception we weren't just a small little brand coming from Cullybacky, that we were on track to be a global brand, and I still believe that. But I guess you have to get quite creative with how you're going to do that. But Mum gave me one room and she said, as long as you leave it the way it is, and thank goodness it is the way it is now. I had that one room, and I had just had a good support of family and friends who really did believe in the concept. After about a year and a half, I had filled that room to the top, and there was no room, and it started flowing into her kitchen. There was our dog at the time was running around and getting everything messed up, so I had to be careful that I wasn't starting to mess with the quality of the products. So we actually had a call from Work West saying, hey, we've seen what you're looking for somewhere online. We'd love to help out. And we were given a unit to start with. And these guys have been incredible. We were able to move in. And at the time I was like, this unit looks too big. And the guy who does our finance, James, was like, I think this is too big for us. Within 3 months, that place was totally full. So it definitely, I think my biggest piece of advice for people going into starting their own business is, don't look at the room and assume, can I fill it? Look at the room and be like, we can fill it. And you will be able to, because every time then we started with one warehouse, we now have about 5 or 6 warehouses, I'm not sure, but there's a lot of warehouse space here. I think it's around 6,500 square foot that we now have at Work West, and that's been incredible. For each year we've been able to grow, and they've been able to give us more access to more warehouses, whether it's for staff to work, or whether it's storage for products coming in, or whether it's production as well. I didn't really have a business plan. I think that's something I wish I maybe had sat down and had the time for, but what I did do was I found mentors, different people around Northern Ireland, and it didn't have to be in the sphere for what I was doing. I think I just wanted people who were in business, who managed people, and who had created some sort of successful business. And I actually met the Linus family, and they were incredible help from the frozen food. If I'd ever started the company and thought frozen food was where I was going to get my help from, but I actually found that meeting up with the Linus family actually helped me understand managing people, being proactive with money, and setting money aside and managing that money as well, and also what my values were going to be. So I guess at the start it was just, looking back, it definitely is. You just have to put yourself out there, sending a message, sending an email, knocking on someone's door. And I think if you can get, Northern Ireland is full of talent, full of leadership, full of companies that are growing, Instagrams, TikToks, whatever it is, just send that message and there's a good chance they're going to see it. So I think, and even if they don't see it, try someone else. So I think at the start, it very much was just, hey, I'm a young 25-year-old. I would love to grab a coffee with you, just understand how you've built your business. And I would just sit and write notes for that hour. And it was probably those 5 or 6 hours with 5 or 6 different people. I probably learned more than I did in my university degree just with those individuals. At the start, you're a one-man band. You're doing everything. Then you have to be vulnerable and say, what shouldn't I be doing and what am I not good at doing? And that's when I had to decide, who do I need next? And that was even a vulnerable stage to say, I need a staff member to help me, to need help. And I think that was very critical at the start, was finding out where, and fashion was that thing. So I got someone who helped us with the fashion. So early on, I guess it was being self-aware of what my strengths and weaknesses were, and allowing people to come in on the journey and be a part of OutsideIn that really helped propel the company to grow. Yeah, I think we got to the point of 4 or 5 people at the start. And a lot of the people that we had in the start of Outside In were friends, and that made it tough because it was hard creating that boundary between manager and staff, and that definitely was a hindrance to growth. People at that point were incredible and helped us get to that point, but you do get to a point where you realize to get to the next stage, we're going to need new staff members. We're going to need people with experience coming from different areas. And I think it was one trip in 2017 or 2018 that I went to Gymshark's headquarters in Birmingham, and I got to meet the owner there, Ben. And I think the one question I asked him, I was like, we're 2.5 years old. What is it that kind of takes us to that next level of growth? And he says, my biggest investment was people. And he says, finding the right people to get on the bus was the main thing for him. So after that meeting, I went back and I was like, we need to work out what are the areas that we need to get the best skills and equip to get the best people in. And I guess when we went to the hiring stage, we did it slow. And that was something I was always told, hire slowly, fire quickly. So when I was looking at hiring, I didn't rush in to try and find the right person. I thought, how are we going to attract the best person first? So I looked at different platforms, whether it was Instagram, LinkedIn, and how are we going to stand out from the crowd? And already we had a really amazing story. But for me, it was more than that. I was like, I want the best that Northern Ireland has to give. And sometimes at the start, I would get caught up with what was on the CV. But the more I realized, it's the personal characteristics that I go for every day of the week. Doesn't matter if you have a business degree or whatever. I'm going to look at how well you interview. I'm going to look at how well you're going to fit our culture. And I think what we've done here, we've created 20 people who really believe in the why, but they all bring their own different gifts. And I think they're ambitious, they're driven, and they're resilient. And that is the sort of culture I've tried to create. And I think it's hard to get it, but when you just look at a CV and you just look at okay, that's the cheapest person, that'll do. It doesn't always get you exactly what you want. And I think you have to know what your core values are, and then you can work from that. There's a lot of fear with starting your own company, and I get it, because I know at the start, I had a lot of opposition for starting Outside In. I remember when I came up with a concept, people were like, you're crazy. Why not go get a part-time job first, and then you can worry about doing Outside In? Now, I was lucky enough to live with my mum, so there's not many overheads, but I gave myself a year, and I was like, if in a year, I do not see any clear breakthrough in terms of social impact, I'll pack it in. But when I heard so many stories of how it impacted people, I knew it was worth it. So I would say the first point of call is, why do you want to do it? If it's motivated by money, when you get to a tough week or two and money's your motivator, it's going to be tough to keep motivated. But if you can actually see, it doesn't need to just be social impact. You could care about beauty, you could care about the fitness industry. And I think you have to know why you're doing it, and then that means that the resilience kicks in those really tough months. That's when you're going to have a motivation to keep going and to keep doing it. And I guess also then just asking people for advice, looking to people who are already in the field, and they're not going to see you as a threat. I love when other fashion companies who are starting off come to me and say, hey, can you tell me like how to start off a company, or I'd love to get a tour around your offices. It's not competition, because we should be proud in Northern Ireland that we can create multiple fashion companies, multiple beauticians, multiple fitness places. So I guess it's like, don't see people as competition, see them as they're going to help if you reach out and you have the right heart to do it as well. So I guess it's, yeah, mentorship, looking for others, and also having resilience and know your why is probably my main focus that's kept me going for 5 years. Yeah, I think the plan for Outside In going forward, it's exciting. I think the more I travel, the more I see the opportunity, which is the best part, is like not getting just focused on Northern Ireland. I love Northern Ireland, and I want this to be known as the place where Outside In started, but I'm looking global vision, and I see so many needs and different needs that I would love to be a part of, whether it's street homelessness in LA, whether it's in New York in the subways where there's so many issues with homelessness. I want Outside In to be involved in educational systems, helping to prevent poverty, going beyond schools, so that we can get to the core reason why people are ending up homelessness with money management. So I think for me, I believe in the next 20 to 30 years, Outside In is going to help educational systems, politics, but also creating a clothing brand that people believe in, and they can see from the cotton fields the whole way through, the transparency of how it gives back to whoever is involved in that journey. Whether it's businesses, whether it's an individual, I would love just to constantly be giving back to the point where it makes people question, how are you able to do it? But I think if we can show that this is our heart, but we have great people behind it who have business skills, that every company has the opportunity to do what we do. They just have to open themselves up to be like, what is the need that we want to serve and help, and what purpose can we give? And if we can help other companies do that, that would be my goal, to look back and see other individuals and businesses who have taken a giving element to what they do in business.